If you ask a question like, can somebody do, right? Well, you can do anything you want. The first 2 years where we didn't know much about how the hell we do things, and we're competing with people who have lots of money. We have no idea how the hell we do marketing. We have no idea about website. By the way, I never trained in my life before that. I never knew I can train. Whatever was our strength is becoming our disadvantage unless we're willing to acknowledge that and fix it. There are big companies who have loads of money, right? Data shows most startups don't even survive the first year. ऐसे होता है. Failing is not an option. Even if you fail, it's not end of the world, man. If you fail, it's all right. It's not end of the world. But if you succeed, it's going to help us to go to the next level.
Hi everyone. So today for our podcast, we have Mr. Narasimha Reddy. He's an entrepreneur, leadership coach, founder and CEO of StarAgile, and he has over 23 years of IT experience. He's also a certified Scrum trainer as well. And I hope I've not missed any of the accolades.
No, you're good. Thank you. Yeah.
Right? And so in this podcast, we're going to discuss about project management. We're going to talk about Scrum, Sprint, Product Owner, Scrum Master, a lot of misconceptions. And we're going to dive deep into everything that's related to Scrum. So, sir, how did you come across the entrepreneurial journey? Like, why from a trainer to a...
Yeah, I think, honestly, in my case, Nishant, it's not like I started because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? I think it happened more, I would say, organically, if I can use that word, right? Just to give some context, I worked in IT industry for about 16 years in different roles. Started like a developer, and then I moved on to different roles. I was a project manager, and then my previous organization, I got introduced to agile. Thanks to my previous organization, I really got introduced to agile, and we were trying this out in our projects. And that's when I got opportunities to start training people in the organization. By the way, I never trained in my life before that. I was more on delivery. I never knew I can train because we never did that, right? I mean, the way it works in organizations, you have separate departments for training, separate departments for delivery. So I was always on the delivery side, right? So I never knew I can train, or this is something that I can do as a career, right? So there was an opportunity internally, and there was a need, I would say, more than opportunity. And then a couple of us volunteered and said, hey, let's go do that. And I started liking it, and I realized, yep, I can teach a thing or two, and I improved on it. And a lot of mentors in the world, okay, I can take few names as well. People like Carlton, there are few people who really helped me to hone this skill, get better at it. And I eventually became a trainer, long story short. And when I became a trainer, and I realized, look, there's an opportunity for me to even do it on my own. And that's when I got few people who supported me, who joined me. It is not easy to get someone, let's say you are an MBA from a great college and working in a bigger company. Why would they leave all that and come and join one random guy?
Yes.
Right? I mean, I'm thankful to people who trusted me, and we all got into that small journey with 3 people, 4 people. And looking back, I'm very happy I've done this. And as a trainer, I've done my bit. But as an organization, we built an organization where we have grown at least 7-8 times in last 8 years, both revenue-wise, people count. I never started honestly like saying I want to become an entrepreneur, right? It just happened organically. I'm glad I took that risk of, hey, are you okay to leave a job which is paying pretty decently, and you are married, you have 2 kids. By the way, when I left my job, right, my second son is 2 weeks old.
Okay.
Right? So obviously that was a big decision for me looking back, right? I mean, why would you leave something that is giving you comfortable salary, reliable, and it is going to happen for next 20 years in one way or other, right? Leave that and take a chance on something which is completely unknown. So maybe I can give that credit to myself. Otherwise, it's about team who joined me, and then and it's only a start, right? I tell people we just started, okay? We just build a platform which I hope can help everyone here grow 10 times more. Otherwise, it is whatever hard work we have put in the last few years is complete waste of effort, right? With this, we're at a stage where we can grow organically.
Yeah, but also with people who go away from society norms, start something on their own, or like move away from that mindset, there's always a few soft skills or skills that are hidden. Like you don't know once you start that journey, then you realize that, okay, these skills, I always had these skills, but now they're coming front. Like if you're a trainer, you have to be outspoken or extroverted. Like, are there any skills that you noticed which were developed in you over time and then it came into forefront?
I think as a trainer, I think maybe I was pretty comfortable talking in my own friends. I grew up in hostels, and maybe I was okay to talk in front of people. But I think looking back, again, whatever question you asked is just making me think, right? What helped me, right? I come from a family background where I always grew up in a business environment, right? I mean, my dad is into business. I mean, they had to do their own hard way, start from zero and eventually build something on their own. I think subconsciously that helped me to be able to get some risk taking ability. And also, I've done my CFA, by the way, right? I mean, in my
Yeah.
previous organization, even though I'm a techie, so just to tell you a story, right? I was part of an organization as a techie who do projects for investment banks. I mean, just to give my age so that you have the context, I was 23, 24 at that time,
Okay.
maybe of your age.
Yeah.
And since we're working for an organization who do projects specifically for investment banks, they used to encourage the techies, developers to learn finance so that they can be better positioned. They can add more value because they understand the business. So internally, they used to encourage people, hey, go do CFA. If you do CFA, it'll help you to learn more about finance. Then you can understand more about our business problems, blah blah blah. And they used to reimburse the money if you clear the certification. So bunch of us, few people who wanted to do that. So our goal was like, let's take the exam, we clear that, and if we clear that, whatever money we get, we're going to use it to go on a Thailand trip.
Okay.
And we did that. I mean, we were able to clear the exam and eventually use that money to go on our first Thailand trip. But looking back, I think that finance knowledge is helping me to be able to run business, at least to understand people who do that and understand what they say that we should be doing, right? I think that finance knowledge is also helping me looking back. So at that time, we didn't even know why the hell we were doing CFA, which is completely off track from my techies journey. But we did that, and I think that really helped me. I'm thankful we did that for my previous company. Group of friends were all did it together, and that is helping me to understand how do you really manage finances, cash flows, liquidity. So I'll put these two things, right? One, my risk taking ability comes from my family background subconsciously, even though nobody, made me sit there and then teach me, okay, this is entrepreneurial journey, but we saw that happening. And two, I think my finance background is helping me. Luckily, we're also lucky with people we got. We got a really strong core team, who is the reason why we're probably able to grow. Because I don't believe anyone can really build an organization, one guy, one superstar, right? I mean, maybe I teach my bit, but when we started off, we didn't have even the required skills, right? We don't even know what is required, right? I can train the couple of guys who can sell. But we have no idea how the hell we do marketing. We have no idea about website. Even though I come from technical background, but
You need
no
other
one in the
expertise.
team who can actually do that,
Yes.
right? Don't think about digital marketing. Now people are doing Google, Facebook. But one good thing is people are willing to go and try out things, right? I mean, nobody joined us who can say, I'm from sales, I'm going to do only sales. Imagine a 3-member team who says, I only do one thing. We would have been nowhere. I think people are willing to try out. They basically, we work like, okay, here is a problem. Who has time? Let's go do it. You don't know, no problem. Let's figure out. Anyway, there's no other better option. I think, and we eventually got people with the required skills. I won't say we have arrived, right? I mean, we are nowhere compared to where we can be, right? We just build the platform, but it's about making the required changes as we go along, right? I mean, see, when we were 15-member team, how we worked was perfect, let's say. But when we became 100-member team, the same style of working is the biggest problem we have to solve.
Okay.
Whatever was our strength is becoming our disadvantage unless we're willing to acknowledge that and fix it.
Adapt.
And in the process, people should be willing to let go of things, all the subtle things, right? Sometimes you have that sense of I own this, right? Now you realize, man, you can't own anything, right? You can't own everything, right? You can't be the only decision maker, because now it's 100-member team. There should be more decision makers, and we should be able to decentralize and get more people take ownerships. And sometimes it's a personality, right? Some people might find it difficult to let go of things, right? I think we were able to do that, and it's still happening, right? We were able to realize, look, it's not going to work if you work the same way. So it's a journey, and hopefully 8 years from now we'll be 10 times bigger than where we are right now.
And also, like, one thing I would like to ask is, you've definitely mentioned about a lot of Cinderella story or a success story. In this success story, like, what is maybe one standout phase where you're like, okay, things were not going as planned at all. Like it felt like everything was deviating, or where you doubted yourself or something like that.
Yeah, talking about my StarAgile journey or even before that.
As a total.
Okay, I think, see, there were moments, in my professional journey as well where things happened. I think all of us go through that. I mean, looking back, it is not a big deal, I know now, but it was a big deal for that young kid. So there were no recession, and then people were worried about losing jobs. Even though I never lost my job, so to speak, but we were concerned about at that time, right? It just gonna you'll be a little bit worried about how do things happen shape up. Especially, and I think I was just married at the time, and things were down, and my company was not doing so well at the time. So even though, I mean, things went okay looking back, but there was a concern for a few months how it happened. I think StarAgile journey, Nishant, if you ask me, I mean, we started that way. By the way, you said things are not going well, right? First of all, we don't even know what to do, right, when we start off.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I heard people saying like people a lot of times start entrepreneurial journey on gut feel, right? I think in a way it happened that way for us, but at least in our case, we have some sense of better security because I'm the trainer myself, and if not anything, I can go teach, and that way we will be able to deliver the same offering at much lesser cost compared to some big companies. There are big companies who have loads of money, right? They're gonna get TV ads, they're gonna get, they're all over the place, and you have nothing. How do you start off, right? So we have our own advantage in terms of being the trainer myself. We were able to start offering classes. So I would say the first couple of years was obviously the toughest part, right? I mean, in fact, data shows most startups don't even survive the first year, right?
They pivot before surviving.
Yeah, or they just die, right? Pivoting is okay, right? Pivoting is even better, right? But some die, not say most of them die. They can't even survive beyond 1 year. Surviving beyond 1 year itself is a great thing. And by the way, we are a bootstrapped company one now. Okay, we're almost 8 years and we didn't raise any penny, right? We are zero debt company, and we are still able to grow.
That's rare these days.
Yeah, I know, but we are able to do that, and I believe that's the way to do it. So when, so a lot of times in the organization, people ask questions, hey, what do you want, revenue or profit? My listen, we should increase the revenue profitably.
Huh.
Why is it that people think that we should only choose one of them?
Yes.
Maybe it is going to vary from different domains, different industries. Maybe there are industries where unless you shell out loads of money and capture the market, you'll not be able to really grow because there might be space for only 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. But I think we are in an industry, I believe, where just acquiring market for the sake of acquiring is not going to help you, because you know what, we're an industry where people can leave on it. For example, you enroll for a training with StarAgile, and let's say we mess up that job, mess up whatever you did with us, you're not happy. You know what, you can move away tomorrow.
Yeah.
So spending loads of money in acquiring customers and say we have a bigger market share doesn't mean anything, because by tomorrow all of them can walk away, right?
Yes.
So I think first 2 years where we didn't know much about how the hell we do things and we're competing with people who have loads of money was the toughest phase if I have to pick one phase, right? Because we have no idea how to do it, we don't even have money.
Along similar lines, is there any advice that you received, maybe from a relative, from a close one, from a friend? Like not only during the phase, so something that stood out.
I think common advice people give is, what are you doing, man? What is this nonsense? Okay, why
That
are
is
you
that
living
is
a good
demotivation,
job?
not advice.
Yeah, it's not an advice, but yeah, the most common thing, including my dad, of course, they have good intentions when they said, right? I mean, of course, whoever said that, they're basically telling me something that they believe is good for us. Why should you even do it at this stage and at this time? You have a comfortable job, blah blah blah.
Along the same lines, what is the best advice that you got that you still hold on to today? Like something that you can recollect.
So I'll maybe take it in 2 ways, right, Nishant? One, let me talk about what was the best advice I got as a trainer, and then maybe running the organization, right, as an entrepreneur. I think as a trainer, first of all, I'm grateful that there are so many trainers, CSTs across the world who took some time out of their busy schedule to really help you to understand how you can get better. You know what? Looking back, probably they didn't get anything out of the time they spent helping me, right? So that's why I'm very grateful for some of these guys who helped me. I can name Carlton. He was in US. I think he moved to Portugal now, and a couple of other trainers. Ram. Whenever he used to come to India, used to help me co-train with him, give me feedback on how I can get better. A lot of trainers along with that. So I think it was more of they see you practicing the skill. You go and play, right? I mean, training is also, I say, is like playing a game of cricket, right? I mean, yeah, you know the skill, you might know the theory, but unless you go execute it, you'll not be able to figure out what works for you. And give the same script to the two different trainers, to different people, it'll come out differently, because I think your personality adds to it. So I think you'll have to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So I'm grateful to these guys who gave me opportunities to go try out things, gave me feedback. So that really helped me to become a better trainer. And it's a journey, right? It's not like you're gonna be, you have arrived any day, right? You're always gonna get better. Every class is different. Every student is gonna give you opportunity to learn something. But on the entrepreneurial journey, I think I'll probably say it's more of you learn from other people, right? I mean, it's not like I went there and somebody said, okay, do this and it helped you, right? I think, and I met a lot of people. I mean, I met people who are in similar industry. We go talk to them, understand what is to help them, and they give some advice. Some doesn't make sense, some make sense. So you have to pick one advice. I cannot say who gave this, but I think what I learned quickly is I think it's really important to manage the finances of the company well, take care of people, make sure they have the environment system where they'll be focused on doing work. Then getting too greedy about we just have to grow the revenue, somehow get the funding and go to the next level. I think we always played from day one differently, saying, look, we got to figure out how do we self sustain and take care of liquidity, cash, to give people opportunity to run the show. I think that's probably a good advice I learned from talking to people who did well, who didn't do well, right? Sometimes people also, you learn from people looking back, they say, you know what, this is a mistake I've done. And I haven't, I was a techie, I was more focused on technology, product without worrying about marketing or finances, right? So I think, yeah, if I had to pick one, I would say how we were disciplined on our finances and how we got to be careful about that to be able to keep nurturing the organization to grow it is probably the good advice I got from multiple people I talked, right? I won't pick one person. Yeah.
Now I'll dive into a little bit of technical questions so that we can transfer some of the knowledge or some of the experience that you have, right? So let's just start with light questions. Right now, as a project management leader right now in the present world, if you've been there, you've done it for like 10 years, 15 years, say, now how do you keep up with the latest trends? Because times keep changing, right?
So I think see, everyone learns differently, right? I'll tell you what suits me, right? I think I learn when I have some target. So I've done many certifications in my life. For example, somebody say, oh, read a book, okay, for the sake of learning. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm not that kind of person who learn for the sake of learning. So always used to, you have a goal, okay, you're preparing for this particular thing, okay, and you have something in the project and you need to solve this problem, so you need to figure out how to do this. So go read something. So one, I think I learned by attending multiple trainings. I've done I don't know whether you heard about it. I'm an ICF PCC, professional certified coach as well. So it's completely, well, you can say it's not completely different. It's not related to what I do, right? I mean, it's completely different subject, but the skills you learn about coaching there helps me as a professional as well. I think I just did that recently. So I'm quoting an example. So I invested some time to be able to take up this certification, and now we have a goal, right? We got to do this, and to do this, there are XYZ things to do. I started doing that. I'm a PCC right now, and I learned from other people. Right? Honestly, one not I don't more than reading a book. I think I learned from having a goal oriented trainings, or it could be learning. And two, I learn from other people, right? I attended trainings, right? I've done certifications on SAFE. I don't know whether you know about it. So I'm a SPC, it's a scaled agile framework. I attended less trainings. I also know a bit about, so all this helps me in my profession. The way I learn, you go attend trainings, some of this could be completely different from what you do. Like I said, an ICF PCC, which probably need not be required, is not absolute need to do my job, but you go do that. So through trainings, meeting other people, and having some certification that I keep doing, because that's the way I learn, and this is what I do to be able to keep myself updated. And being a trainer, good thing, right, Nishant? You get to know about the trends from people. You meet I don't know, 400 500 people minimum every month, and they bring in wealth of experience. They come from different organizations. They tell you what's going well, what's not going well. So beauty of being a trainer is, as much as I'm sharing what I know, you actually learn more from those guys.
You
Right.
also mentioned about Agile, right? Agile is one of the later versions, right? Are there any old school methodologies in project management that you still remember and you think maybe it should have stuck on for a while, maybe?
Well, term agile in English means something, right? I mean, I think I don't want to even get into that discussion, but yeah, at least in IT industry, when I was, let's say, I started my journey, after my graduation, nobody knew agile. I mean, at least in the project management context, doing projects, we never heard a term like agile or scrum, right? It was so-called traditional way, which is called as waterfall. And I've done projects. That's a commonly used methodology before. Even now, many people use it. But now, more and more organizations are adapting agile way of working. So the previous one was waterfall primarily. Even though there are many others, but primarily waterfall, I would say.
So for companies who are like who don't have a framework yet, is there a mix that they can follow of traditional methodologies as well as agile? Like you mentioned waterfall, right?
See, Nishan, actually, I can talk about this forever, okay? I know I don't want to get too technical in terms of, but you know what, if you ask a question like, can somebody do, right? Well, you can do anything you want. I think the bigger question to ask is how the hell it is helping you, right? I think the question should be why you should do this. Unfortunately, as I said, my experience, a lot of times people adapt a process that is convenient for them, need not be good for them, right? So I think a lot of times my experience when people combine, waterfall way of working with agile way of working and call it as hybrid, like you said, they do it what is convenient for them, need not be good for them. So I'm okay if people start their journey with so-called hybrid. I'm not expecting them to do everything perfectly from tomorrow. But I think what is big no for me as a coach is, people thinking this is how things happen here. ऐसे होता है. If you take that as one step towards getting better every day and connect any question about the process, the question to be asked is why should we do this rather than, ऐसे होता है. Right? And keep adapting, keep improving, and eventually you get to a better way of working without getting hung up on one particular framework. In fact, so as a trainer, right? If I'm in a Scrum training, for example, Nishant, obviously I talk about Scrum, right? That's the object of the training. But if you go into an organization as a coach, I think we should try to move the conversation away from implementing process to adding value. I think the first question we should make sure everybody start thinking about is what is the problem we're trying to solve, right? I mean, are we okay? So let's say an organization says, what, the biggest concern is time to market. Now let's start from there and say, okay, if time to market is a concern, what is it that we can do to make it better? Then going there and say we should implement Scrum because I'm a Scrum trainer, right? I think you get more buy-in from people if you help them see process as an enabler to get the value delivered than saying process because I'm a process expert, right? Yeah, this is probably what I would say.
Another generic question, because you mentioned convenience, right? Something away from Scrum for a bit. So it's like, say you're in a team and you're trying to start something new. It doesn't have to be something related to Scrum. Maybe it's a new project.
Yeah.
And the team is a little reluctant. They want to stick to their old project. How do you motivate or how do you go
good
about
question,
things?
Nishan. I think, I can connect to that with my StarAgile journey every day, right? So the question again, let's go back to the why question, right? Why would somebody be reluctant, right? I think many times, my view, 9 out of 10 times, that happens because they're working in environments where failing is not an option or failing is going to have such a serious, repercussions. They're worried about it. I think if you are a leader, somebody in a management position, if you really want people to try out something new, experiment, I think it only makes sense to make sure you create that sense of security for people. Even if you fail, it's not end of the world, man. It's okay. Learn from this and go back and get better, right? So this is what we say in our StarAgile conversations, right? We should take up experiments that we can afford to fail, right? We will not take up an experiment if we think if we fail in that we will not be able to we will not be able to recover or will not be able to go forward, right? We will take up those experiments that we can afford to fail. So that means when people know that know what, we are trying our best, but it's something new, right? I mean, nobody knows which way it goes, but people know that either ways we have an opportunity to go forward, right? It's not like if this fails you're going to get fired. So creating that sense of safety, security for people to be able to say if you fail it's fine, we are okay, it's not like end of the world too. I think it's important for people to get the required resources to be able to experiment, right? I mean, they may require something new to make it happen. Yeah, these two I would probably quote.
Since we're along the lines of like teams and then teamwork and then how do you like push them to do new tasks, right? There are also projects which require a number of teams. So there's a lot of collaboration. Like how do you make that process smooth? Like in your personal journey as well?
Yeah. So I think, see, Nishan, I'm going to pick on the word push people, right? I think the bigger question I'm going to think about is why should you think unless you push these guys don't try something. You know what? If you are leading a team, if you think that unless you go push something happens, nothing happens, I think you got to first solve that problem. Maybe you are the biggest bottleneck. You know what? Maybe that's how things were working here as an organization, and it is continuing that way. And people are waiting for someone to come and tell them, hey, this is what you should try, right? Imagine the 50 people, and then if not everyone, everyone could be at a different level in their expertise level. Imagine 10 people in those 50 who gonna come in and say, but this is what we should try differently, and they know it's an experiment. If you fail, it's all right. We're not, it's not end of the world, but if you succeed, it's going to help us to go to the next level. So I think we should first look at how can we change the culture of pushing people to try something new to people are pretty comfortable trying out things, because they know if it fails, it's okay, because we are taking up experiments which we can afford to fail. And we looked at the finances, we looked at the other things, and we have people, we have the required focus, required time. If it happens, great. It doesn't happen, we got to move on quickly. I think we have to change that, push somebody to do something new, to how do you create an environment where people are willing to try out things. Make sure you're taking up experiments which are afford to fail. Now, it's important for everyone to think that way, right? I mean, imagine person trying something and he don't understand the, I'm talking about startups, okay? I'm not talking about a big organization. Imagine the guy don't even understand the consequences of how much money is being spent or what kind of returns we get if it doesn't work out. Obviously, he might make decisions that are horribly wrong, right? Because you don't have the bigger context. So it's important to make sure we enable people to have that kind of context, have an environment where they can try out things, is a better way than pushing people to do things.